Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the brand new Lil Uzi Vert album called Pink Tape. Lil Uzi Vert is a Pennsylvania rapper who is quite easily one of the most popular artists who came out of the SoundCloud era of hip hop. Particularly between 2015 to 2017, a good amount of brand new hip hop artists had begun incorporating some trap influenced beats with futuristic elements alongside the quite popular dreamy aesthetics of cloud rap. These particular artists were becoming very popular not only on SoundCloud but also Dat Piff, the very popular mixtape hosting site, and let me tell you, when you were following all of this at that time, it was so exciting because you got so many artists who were releasing what is now considered classic mixtapes and albums. We had, for example, Young Thug with the Slime Season trilogy of mixtapes, as well as Barter 6. We had the rise of, for example, Lil Yachty, who released his Little Boat mixtape, which became a pretty big viral sensation. And then, of course, we've got Lil Uzi Vert. Within the span of just a few years, Lil Uzi Vert had become one of the most popular hip-hop artists by releasing fantastic mixtapes such as the Lil Uzi Vert vs. the World mixtape, the Perfect Love mixtape, as well as eventually releasing in 2017 an honestly very promising debut album as well. And in this particular year too, we also saw the release of EXO Tour Life, which is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, emo rap songs ever made. Now, what makes Lil Uzi Vert so popular, I believe, isn't so much the music that they release, but also the fantastic, eccentric, and fun personality that they have too. And I believe a lot of artists around that time all had their very distinct personalities, and we saw a lot of them come within that 2015 to 17 year. And I'd just like to draw people's attention to 2016's Double XL Cypher freestyle video, which featured not only Lil Uzi Vert but 21 Savage, Kodak Black, Lil Yachty, and Denzel Curry, and all of which had their own unique personalities, but in that one video just showed that all of them can shine in very different ways. I was always gravitated towards Lil Uzi Vert's work by seeing that they had the ability to be so artistically versatile, from 1 minute making some fantastic anthemic pop tunes to making some very bittersweet emo rap songs. This is also because of the help of the producers that work with Lil Uzi Vert, usually using the same few producers around the time, particularly the legendary Don Cannon, who, thanks to his work, produced some of the most biggest Lil Uzi Vert songs ever. Now, sadly, when it came to 2018, things got pretty sour. We didn't really see much Lil Uzi Vert material being released. In fact, I would say the popularity of Lil Uzi Vert didn't so much come with the music that was being released, but the lack of music being released, and all of the speculation as to why this was the case. This basically fluctuated to some sort of boiling point when Lil Uzi made it pretty big public knowledge that they were having huge problems with the record label, and apparently that they were stopping them releasing music. This was eventually to a point where not only was Lil Uzi Vert leaking their own songs, but also making the songs dedicated to this specific topic, such as the song Free Uzi. Now, eventually we did see a few singles being released, and even though they were few and far between over the span of quite a long time, they were all pretty much huge singles, and some of them are great tracks. For example, the real feel-good summer anthem Sanguine Paradise, as well as the huge trance-like bop that's Fussdoll Shuffle. Eventually 2020 brought us the album that many people were waiting for absolutely ages, including myself, Eternal Take. And this was overall met with pretty mixed reception, including myself. However, Uzi fit to drop something else on top of that not too long after, a sequel to the mixtape Lil Uzi Vert vs. the World, which is personally one of my favourite projects that they've released, containing some of my personal favourite Uzi songs, such as Yes Sirski with 21 Savage, Moon Relate, which I think is an awesome song, and the last track, Leaders, which probably has the best ever Nav feature he's ever done. And then after that, we basically had yet another musical drought. A few, singles, and occasionally feature here and there on other people's music, but eventually last year we did get a kind of teaser to this tape, which was the Red and White EP, which was overall pretty good, but hey ho, never mind all of that. We're finally here. This is the Pink Tape, and there's a lot here. There is 26 tracks on this thing. Wow. And it is both feature length and also feels like a feature. I say that because not only does it mean that the 26 tracks altogether clock within the same time length that it would be if you were to watch a movie, but it really feels like Uzi themselves have actually attempted to make this visually as well, sort of like some sort of, well, movie. And you can really see this in the album trailer that was released not too long ago before this was actually released as the whole entire album. And that's a really fun watch. I recommend you watch it. It's only got snippets of songs here and there, but there's a lot of creativity going on within this video. So then, what do I actually think of the album? Well, it shouldn't be a surprise that I'm actually mixed on this album. And I think that's not a surprise because I personally believe that the vast majority of people out there will also be mixed on this, because there's so many random ideas being thrown into this 26 track project, many of which are very eclectic. It basically means that there should be a handful guaranteed of tracks that people will like, but sadly alongside that there'll probably be a good few songs that they will not like, and that's been the case with me basically. Now, in an attempt to shorten this review so I'm not keeping you all day and night, what I've done here is categorise all of these tracks into 4 categories basically. I'm going to have all of them be represented into 4 different ones, which are being Throwback Uzi, Rage Uzi, Metal Uzi, and WTF Uzi. So Throwback Uzi is what I basically classify as the songs on this tape, which is Lil Uzi Vert songs that I feel sit very well in pretty much any sort of material that Uzi's released over their recording history. These are tracks that are basically cloud rap, pop rap, with a fantastic emphasis on the sort of futuristic sound, particularly with the synthesizers having a very epic quality. And these tracks, for the vast majority, are always ones that Uzi fits seamlessly on. I mean, songs like Pluto to Mars, Days Come and Go, Flooded the Face, Spin Again. I think all of these tracks really are highlights for me and just kind of have that, like I say, futuristic style, and it really helps that the majority of these ones that I've named actually has either co-produced credits or full production credits from the one and only Don Cannon, and it's just so fantastic and kind of in a way weirdly nostalgic for them to be collaborating again, and we just need that classic Kanan sort of tag that he throws on. If that had it, boy, I would feel like I was 7 years younger again. Pluto to Mars is an especial highlight. It's got this very happy and bubbly sound to it that I think a lot of people who are big fans of the classic track by Uzi called 20 Minutes would really like this. They've both kind of got a similar style to them. Also a shout out to the X2 song, which has got this really cool arpeggiator going through it. And then Died and Come Back Again. I love the synthesizer on that. It really feels like it could be the rap equivalent of a Superman theme tune. But sadly in this category I also feel that there's a handful of songs that aren't exactly really bad, just are kind of there and just aren't really anything to write home about. I'm thinking of stuff like the pretty uneventful and noodling All Alone, or the track which is kind of ruined a bit with the pretty annoying falsettos on That Fire. It's just examples where I feel that Uzi, as in their rapping, and the instrumental, either one or the other is just pretty weak. For example, it would have been interesting and pretty cool to have a really nice, melancholic and bittersweet feeling instrumental for the song Mama I'm Sorry, where Uzi is talking about their pretty bad drug issues and how that affects their family sort of relationships, but instead, like I say, it's pretty drab. And then All Alone, which I thought had a pretty cool hook from Uzi. Again, just not a fan of this pretty lackluster instrumental that it's on. Now the next one, we've got Rage Uzi. And this is basically Lil Uzi Vert songs that are in the genre of rage music. Quick explanation of rage music. It's basically trap, which focuses on these really buzzy and kind of distorted synthesizers that repeat a lot and attempt to have this sort of hypnotic style to it, and usually the rapper who's on it will similarly match it with a very repetitive flow and usually being a bit more aggressive than what you would typically get. It was particularly started by Playboy Carti, who is someone who's had a pretty on and off friendship with Lil Uzi Vert, so because of them working with each other on and off throughout a long period of time, I'm not surprised that Lil Uzi has eventually tried this genre. So multiple songs on this album, particularly at the very start of it, are basically rage songs. So it's these songs which are a bit more noisier than usual, and to match that we've got Uzi, who is having an affliction which is quite a bit more turned up and a lot more aggressive than usual. And this is where I kind of get to the pros and cons of rage music as a whole, to be honest, and this is all in my opinion, of course. And it really is a double-edged sword, because whilst I feel that something that's repeating a lot can become hypnotic and can send you into a sort of trance-like feeling, which I'm sure some of the songs will do really well, and I know there are rage songs that I quite like that do that successfully. It also means that because it's so repetitive, it can be quite tiresome and quite boring. So basically, if you don't like the hook someone's came up with, you're not going to like the song immediately, because they're going to say it, another 100 times or so. And again, I'm kind of mixed on the rage songs that was on the Pink tape. Now, I will have to say it's pretty commendable about how Lil Uzi and the producers have gone about this kind of style, because it's definitely a bit different to what I'm usually used to. For example, the way that they've used synthesizers to sound like, or there might even be electric guitars to make this loop going throughout, it definitely gives it a bit more grit than what I usually listen to on rage music, and just has a bit more of a texture to it. This added personality is seen, for example, in the song Suicide Doors, which has this pretty menacing introduction from not only the way that the synths build up, but also Lil Uzi themselves, who has this really big all-out freak out, which is just them cussing out everybody and everything, which is pretty rude, I've got to say, but something's pissed them off. But then we get the issue that I have with rage music, which is where Uzi just ends up coming up with this one idea and it'll be repeated ad nauseum throughout the entire track. And this is seen in Suicide Doors, as well as another song called Amped. I'm going up. I'm going up. I'm going up. Yeah. I'm going up. I'm going up. Yeah. I'm going up. Yeah. I'm going to have to call out Uzi here, because I really feel like they've copied a bit of Playboy's style when he does rage music. And I mean this in one particular idea that Playboy sometimes does, which is where, to sound more unhinged, Playboy will purposely crack his voice to make it, like I say, more unhinged and manic. And Lil Uzi ends up doing that themselves, and I'm just like, yeah, I've heard that done before. Also, what's up with these weird muffled filters that occasionally come on Uzi's voice on the song Amped? It really is distracting and just kind of sounds cheap. Now we've got Metal Uzi. Now, Uzi has always labelled themselves a rock star, so it's only fitting that we finally get something that actually has a rockin' vibe to it. Now, the two main standouts here will have to be the song Werewolf featuring Bring Me the Horizon, and as well as that, The End, which is featuring, of all people, Baby Metal. Now, before I go any further, I really do have to give praise to Lil Uzi for having the guts to actually put these artists on their album, because it really just goes to show what I was saying before about how certain songs will not appeal to some people, and I say particularly these songs, I can imagine some pretty hardcore hip-hop heads listen to these and raising an eyebrow and maybe being pushed out of their comfort zone. Particularly the song Werewolf, which basically is just a really solid metalcore song, included with these anthemic choruses, the headbanging percussion, and of course the shredded vocals from Ollie Sykes. And Uzi's there somewhere on the track. I can barely see them. I think they're over there somewhere. So eventually you do find Lil Uzi is on this track, but you'll find that they've decided to do this early 90s rap metal flow, and it's okay, but it's so short and you can barely even hear it because it's so buried in the mix. I don't know why. And I'm also just curious why Lil Uzi decided to do this flow, because throughout this entire album, including the chilled songs, they do this noise, like trying to make it sound metal-like. And it's like, mate, this is the metal song. Do you know one actually do some shredded vocals? Or are they just incapable of doing it? Like, come on, man, you've got to do more than just go "Bleh" to classify yourself as a rock star. Now, thankfully, you can hear more "Blehs" when you actually listen to the Lil Uzi Vert song that features Baby Metal, The End, and I think this actually, even though I like the Bring Them Horizons song because it is a good song, in terms of being good by incorporating Lil Uzi Vert better, I think this is the better track because it actually settles down between the metal sort of sounds by incorporating a very sort of typical beat, if you were to say, where Lil Uzi Vert fits themselves really well on here. And I also just feel, and this is just a very random opinion, that the idea of having Baby Metal mixed with Lil Uzi Vert, just because they themselves are so oddball and bonkers, it just makes sense to me, this. And I think, again, it just kind of works together as a better collaboration. And then we've got my final category, which is the WTF Uzi. And these are just songs that made me actually out loud go WTF. Now, the really obvious choice for this is the song CS. And it's taken us ages to think what CS stands for. Might be crap song, but I think it's actually supposed to be chop suey. I don't know why I think it's chop suey. It's just a little guess. Now let me just put this out there. If Lil Uzi Vert has the ability and the money to get the rights to have the instrumental to probably the biggest System of a Down song, why not instead be a bit more creative and instead use that budget towards hiring in musicians who could actually create a genuinely unique rap metal song? And if you're not feeling particularly inspired, why not again get some actual musicians to come in and have them recreate the instrumental to give it its own unique flair? Something that, for example, Denzel Curry done really well when he covered the really classic Rage Against the Machine song Bulls on Parade, and that was a great cover. But no, we instead just get the same instrumental of Chop Suey with Lil Uzi Vert just singing sloppily throughout the whole thing. Also, do we really need these stupid monster effect vocals when Lil Uzi's doing their aggressive parts on the song? Instead of sounding impactful, it's just tacky. And because the instrumental is exactly the same, not only do you just want to hear the original version, but it means that when Uzi decides to slightly alter the melody and the tempo of the original song, it's really jarring and just, it's like uncanny. We also have the song Fire Alarm, which is completely nuts. This is like an electronic synth punk song that I could have seen Crystal Castles at one point release, and including the distorted female vocals which are on here too. This also pretty tastefully incorporates a sample from Justice's Stress, but that wasn't the real thing that caught my ears. It was this alarm in the fire alarm that's going on throughout the track, and I knew it immediately. Unless it comes from something different, but I'm certain this actually comes from the music video to the classic Devo song Jocko Homo. Have a listen and see if you agree. I really could go on and on. I mean, I haven't even talked about Just Wanna Rock, the Juke song, which is pretty good. Just a random Juke song, nothing again like it, basically. I haven't talked really much about the features, like the pretty decent Nicki Minaj feature, the pretty terrible feature from Travis Scott on that song I, which is already a pretty rubbish song as well. I could go on. I mean, there's even the bonus tracks, the 3 bonus tracks here, which some of which date, I'm sure, like up to 4 to 5 years old. Like just 3 random bonus tracks. I hope this kind of shows that not only is the musical genres and styles on this tape varied, but the actual quality of the music's really varied too. Now, I went through all 26 tracks when trying to get an opinion over all of this album, and I literally counted 13 of the 26 songs being of good quality, the rest ranging from adequate to just outright atrocious. So although because that's literally half the tracks, it would make sense to give this record a 5 out of 10, I'm going to be lenient because of the other tracks, or the tracks that I like, having this risk to them of being so whacked out, and for someone who's so not only as prolific as Uzi, but the fact that there's been such a big hype build to this record too, I think you've got to give props to that. So I'm going to be nice and generous and give it a 6 out of 10. And that's basically it, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'm more than certain that there is certain songs that you'll like that I didn't, and vice versa, because there's so many on here. But let us know, what songs did you like? What songs didn't you like? And I hope, like I say, you're doing alright for yourselves. And I hope that I'll catch you again soon enough. But that's it from me. And once again, take care of yourselves, and bye for now.
Thanks for listening.